don't try to control an Aquarius, karma will hit you hard. Love should feel like wings, not shackles. You said you needed space, but I thought you were walking away. I just wanted to know what you were thinking, what you were doing, and you called that control. That was the last message she sent. After that silence, she didn't block him. She didn't cry. She didn't come back. She is an Aquarius, and he is Sagittarius, who always believed that honesty alone was enough to make someone stay, had failed to understand one crucial truth. Aquarius doesn't leave because you did something wrong. They leave because you tried to bend them into a mold that was never meant for them. He didn't even know when the controlling behavior had started. Maybe it was when he felt insecure after she didn't reply right away. Maybe it was when he began comparing her to more traditional girls, the ones who were affectionate, dependent, and easy to read. Or maybe it was when he began to believe that love meant always being together 24 hours a day. But for Aquarius, love is never a place to run to when you feel unsafe inside yourself. They love you when you don't need them in order to feel whole. And they leave the moment they sense that love is being used to confine, not to liberate both people. I'm not angry, I just don't see myself in this relationship anymore. For the first time in his life, he understood you can't love someone by taking away their freedom, even if you call it care. And that's exactly where this story begins. A lesson titled, "Don't try to control an Aquarius, you'll face the consequences." Not consequences that come from conflict, but consequences born of silence, absolute, rational, and irreversible. Maybe you fell in love with an Aquarius because of the freedom in their eyes, because of the way their mind feels just out of reach, or the way they make you feel like magic might still exist in the world. But here's what you need to remember. Freedom isn't just a need for them, it's who they are. To Aquarius, a relationship is never a cage. It's a journey of growing together, not shrinking yourself down to fit someone's version of love. And if you're trying to control them by constantly asking what they're thinking, what they're doing, what they want, then maybe you're not really loving them. Maybe you're just trying to make them easier to predict so you can feel safer in the relationship. But in astrology, Uranus Aquarius's ruling planet is the symbol of cosmic disruption. They don't explode when you yell. They disconnect suddenly, coldly, like flipping a switch and cutting the power, and they disappear from your life. They'll do it without a single warning. So if you're in love with an Aquarius or trying to understand your own Aquarian self, keep reading, because what comes next will bring sharp clarity to the one truth we often try to deny. Love and possession are never the same thing. Control is a symptom of fear, not of love. There's a truth not many people are willing to face. When you want to control someone, it's not because you love them too much. It's because you're too afraid of losing them. The fear of being abandoned, the fear of being forgotten, the fear that if you don't keep them close, they'll walk away and stop choosing you. But here's the heartbreaking paradox. The more you try to control an Aquarius, the further they drift away. Because to them, love is never a place where one loses themselves. They only love when they are free to be their full, strange, undefinable selves. And they only stay when you don't try to box them into any mold. Not the ideal partner, not the obedient boyfriend, not the easy-to-read girlfriend. In astrology, this is the core lesson of the 11th house, the house of community, friendship, and humanitarian connection. Aquarius lives for connection, but not the kind built on possession or control. They love through freedom, and they leave through detachment. If you've ever found yourself wanting to check your Aquarius partner's phone, or needing to know their exact schedule, or feeling hurt when they ask for space, pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, am I truly in love with who they are, or am I just trying to hold on to them so I can feel less insecure? The fear of losing someone is deeply human, but if you choose control as your way of coping with that fear, you don't just lose them, you also lose the chance to heal yourself. Because real love is not a place where one person shrinks just to fit the other's emotional needs. Real love is soil where both people get to grow. If you're nodding right now, or if there's a part of you that feels a little shaken, then the next chapter will go even deeper. We're about to enter the space of silence, the place where Aquarius chooses not to argue, not to resist, but simply to withdraw. And in that silence, we'll begin to uncover the hidden wounds they've never quite been able to put into words. Tap subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. One of the things that leaves many people confused when loving an Aquarius is this. Why don't they argue, fight back, or explain themselves? Why do they simply withdraw? Why? When the relationship starts to hit turbulence, do they choose silence instead? The truth is, it's not because they don't care. On the contrary, it's because they care deeply and they know that in that moment, words could turn into weapons. An Aquarius, though they're an air sign known for logic and analysis, always carries a profound sense of emotional responsibility. They don't want to hurt anyone, especially the person they love. Their silence is not manipulation. It's not a tactic to make you panic. It's a form of energetic regulation, a way to protect the relationship from unnecessary cuts while their emotions are still being processed. In therapeutic psychology, there's a concept called emotional regulation capacity, the ability to pause when you feel yourself about to say something you can't take back. Aquarius is remarkably good at that, but the price of that skill is often this: they are misunderstood. To someone in love with an Aquarius, their silence can feel like being abandoned in the middle of a storm. You may think they don't need me anymore, but inside them is a tidal wave of emotions, a storm without words, a chaos they haven't yet figured out how to express. Uranus, Aquarius's ruling planet, carries energies of disruption, eccentricity, and at times isolation. It compels them to disconnect suddenly without the emotional logic others are used to. But behind that silence is a very clear internal voice. Stop, don't cause more harm, step back, analyze, reset. That's why you might suddenly see them become cold or distant. But beneath that calm exterior is a deeply sensitive emotional system, like artificial intelligence, silently processing millions of emotional signals without ever revealing what's happening beneath the surface. And when faced with that silence, instead of panicking, try asking yourself, do I really need them to answer, or am I afraid of feeling abandoned because I haven't learned how to hold myself yet? Sometimes we think we need an explanation, but in truth, what we really need is a hug from within, gentle enough to soothe our fears and steady enough to hold us when the other person has no choice but to step away. That's why when Aquarius chooses silence, it's not distance. It's their way of preserving the last thread of kindness when words could too easily turn into blades. Silence for Aquarius is a conscious act. It's how they protect the most beautiful part of a relationship, even if they know they might have to walk away. If you've ever been hurt by an Aquarius's silence, or if you've ever chosen silence yourself to avoid hurting someone else, keep listening, because in the next part, we'll dive even deeper. Why does Aquarius need personal space, and why that space isn't rejection, but an invitation to love with more maturity? Have you ever felt this? They tell you they love you, but they also say they need space, and a quiet but relentless question rises inside you. If they truly love me, why do they need distance? But here's what you need to understand. For Aquarius, space isn't separation. It's the fuel that sustains connection. They can't love properly if they're drowning in expectations, rigid routines, and the pressure to always be present in the right role at the right time. They need silence, intentional pauses to return to themselves, to their private thoughts, their personal passions, and the kind of solitude that no one else can fill. Aquarius is an air sign, a symbol of intellect, freedom, and boundary-breaking creativity. Their ruling planet, Uranus, governs unstable currents and revolutionary energy, the kind that needs regular resets to avoid overload. So when they pull away, it's not a sign of abandonment. It's a requirement for them to maintain loyal love in a healthy way. People with an avoidant attachment style are often misunderstood as cold or emotionally distant. But in truth, they love deeply. They simply love by stepping back first so they can regulate their inner world, and Aquarius is no exception. It's not that they lack feeling, it's that they fear that getting too close too fast or too tightly bound might cause them to lose themselves within the relationship. If you find yourself feeling anxious when the person you love needs time alone, try gently asking yourself, am I really loving them, or am I just clinging to the comfort of being reassured every day? Because in the end, love is the meeting of two worlds, not the melting of both into one. They're not going anywhere. They're just turning inward so they can return to you more whole and more capable of showing up responsibly. And if you've ever found yourself feeling lonely in the quiet space Aquarius creates, don't rush to retreat. Don't jump to conclusions, because in the next part, we'll go even deeper. What truly makes Aquarius walk away from a relationship, and why it's not betrayal that pushes them out, but the feeling of being emotionally suffocated. Have you ever seen an Aquarius walk away while you still believed everything was fine? You didn't lie, you weren't abusive, you didn't do anything terrible, and yet they quietly disappeared. No blame, no dramatic goodbye. Why? Because for Aquarius, emotional suffocation is the worst kind of betrayal. There doesn't need to be infidelity or deceit. All it takes is you not allowing them to be who they truly are. All it takes is you constantly asking, why can't you be like other people? Why aren't you as sweet as you were in the beginning? And needing them to always be there just to soothe the parts of you that are still healing. Bit by bit, you begin draining the internal space they need to breathe, and when they can no longer breathe, they don't fight. They simply leave. People with highly independent personality structures are extremely sensitive to the feeling of being controlled. And Aquarius, ruled by Uranus and tied to the 11th house, is the living embodiment of that. They won't say, "I feel suffocated." They'll just quietly close the door to connection. No anger, no blame, just withdrawal. And the hard truth is, once an Aquarius has left in silence, there's no chance to make things right. Because they don't leave when the love is broken, they leave before they can no longer see themselves in the relationship. They leave when they feel the respect between two people is quietly eroded. Uranus, Aquarius's ruling planet, represents liberation from all forms of confinement. Whether that's a habit, a definition of love, or even a seemingly solid relationship. They don't leave because they stopped loving. They leave because they can no longer be themselves in the love you share. And that is the moment when you need to pause, to ask yourself with honesty and gentleness, am I loving this person, or am I loving the version of them I wanted them to become? True love is not about molding someone to fit you. It's about learning to love and learning to respect what's different, even when it triggers your own insecurities. Because at the end of the day, you can't keep an Aquarius with promises. You can only keep them with a love spacious enough that they no longer need to run from themselves. If you've ever asked yourself, what did I do wrong that made them leave? Then what's coming next will act as a mirror, not to shame you, but to help you heal and learn how to love with more maturity. Because this journey is far from over. And ahead we'll explore Aquarius loves with their own unique logic, but that doesn't mean they lack emotion. One of the most common misconceptions about Aquarius is this: they're too logical to know how to love. People often label them as emotionless robots, distant or impossible to read simply because they don't respond according to typical romantic scripts. They don't get loudly jealous. They don't need constant daily validation. They're not the "I miss you every 5 minutes" kind of sweet. But the truth is, Aquarius feels deeply, they just don't express it in the way you're used to. Astrologically, Aquarius is a fixed air sign ruled by Uranus, the planet of disruption technology and thought systems that challenge convention. For them, love doesn't come from instinct, but from a conscious, intentional choice. They don't fall for someone because their heart skips a beat. They fall because that person awakens their mind, their ideals, and their inner longing for freedom. For Aquarius, mental and value alignment is more important than spontaneous emotional sparks. They need a partner they can talk to like a soulmate, someone to build something with that goes beyond two people in love, a vision, a shared dream, a private universe crafted by the both of you. This is the kind of love you find in people with a secure but highly independent attachment style. They don't seek to merge completely, they seek resonance. And because of this, they're often misunderstood as cold. But in truth, they possess an emotional system that's incredibly intricate. They observe rather than react. They show empathy by listening, not by sweet words. They love by not imposing, not possessing, and by always giving you the space to fully be yourself. So why do you sometimes feel like they don't care? Because you're using your own emotional measurement system to interpret a completely different one. And this is the important lesson few people are quiet enough to realize. The person who loves you doesn't have to love you the way you expect they need to love you, in a way that allows both of you to stay whole. If there's ever been a moment when you felt abandoned by the rational nature of an Aquarius, try sitting with yourself and gently asking, am I looking for real love, or am I asking love to show up in the emotional format I'm used to? Because love doesn't always look like daily affirmations, perfectly timed hugs, or good morning texts. Sometimes their love is simply the quiet presence of you in their mind, the way they keep choosing you every day, even when they don't say it aloud. And if you've ever thought love must be dramatic to be real, the final chapter will open up a whole new perspective. How do you love an Aquarius without losing yourself? Stay tuned for a closing that's not just illuminating, but a doorway to a kind of love that's more mature. This is the final truth, and perhaps the hardest one to accept. You cannot keep an Aquarius. But once you truly understand what makes them choose to stay, you'll never need to try to keep them again. Because they don't stay out of obligation. They stay because the freedom they feel beside you makes them feel even more like themselves. Love with an Aquarius is not about merging into one. It's about a kind of parallel companionship. Two individuals, two journeys meeting at chosen intersections. No need for ropes, no need for supervision, no need for status updates every 5 minutes. Aquarius is the sign of the future, of social intelligence, of collective consciousness. They don't love you because you're cute, affectionate, or make them feel loved. They love you because you are a truly free soul, deep, self-aware, and not needing them to feel whole. yet still choosing them every single day. What draws an Aquarius in has never been dependence. It's self-possession, awakened energy, and a vision that reaches beyond the self. In developmental psychology, a healthy relationship is not a place where two people complete each other. It's where they heal together, where you no longer have to hide the parts of yourself that aren't perfect because you know the other person won't try to fix you but will accept you as you are. To love an Aquarius, you must be brave enough not to lean on them for balance. You are whole. They are whole. And love is the bridge built between two complete worlds. If you've ever found yourself shrinking, reshaping who you are, or becoming easier to love just to keep someone, gently ask yourself, am I losing myself in order to hold on to a love that might not even stay in the end? And if the person you love is an Aquarius, remember, you don't have to fully understand them. You only have to stop trying to control what you don't yet understand. Because you don't need to lock the door to make them stay. You just need to expand the space wide enough for both of you to remain yourselves and still choose to walk toward one another freely every day. And after everything, you'll realize trying to control an Aquarius doesn't just make you lose them. It slowly makes you lose yourself, the free, radiant, and vibrant version of you they once fell in love with. Because love isn't about holding someone back out of fear. Love is about having the courage to give them space and trusting that if their heart still chooses you, they'll return. No force, no manipulation, just something real enough, deep enough, and respectful enough. So instead of asking, how do I keep them? Ask yourself honestly, am I still keeping myself in this relationship? What about you? Have you ever loved an Aquarius? Or are you an Aquarius who once walked away because there was no space left to breathe? Leave a comment below. A single thought, a quiet memory, even a few words might be enough to warm someone else who's feeling lonely in love. And if something in this touched a quiet part of your heart, don't forget to hit subscribe. See you in the next video.